Good afternoon. I want to welcome everyone to our Learn at Lunch webinar. Today we will hear from Cheyenne Sparks, Operations and Communications Manager at the Oklahoma Agriculture Mediation Program, as she discusses how this program can help Oklahoma producers. If you have questions, you may ask them in the chat window by clicking the chat button at the bottom of the screen. I will share the link to the Ag Mediation page and a link to additional farm management resources on the eFarm Management page in the chat window. Cheyenne, I'll turn it over to you now.
Thank you, Brent, and everybody that's here today. At the Oklahoma Ag Mediation Program, we're always excited to be a part of this series, and we appreciate having us today to talk about our program and the resources that we provide to Oklahomans. I want to say a special thank you to everyone that has joined us and that will watch later online. As we get into it later, you'll see information on how to get in touch with us either today or later, whenever you may need us. One thing that I always say when I travel and speak about our program is that I know you have a junk drawer. So if you could just file us in that junk drawer so that if you ever need us, I hope you don't, but if you ever need us, we will always be there for you. First, I would love to introduce myself to you all. For those that follow the series, you may be used to seeing Mike Mayberry, OAMP's Executive Director and Lead Mediator. You got me today instead. I am the office manager. I've been with Mike and the Ag Mediation program for about 10 years now, and I started with the program right out of college when I graduated from Oklahoma State University, and since then have been involved both locally and nationally as I serve with the steering committee of our Coalition of Ag Mediation Programs, or you'll hear me refer to it as CAMP. Just not that kind of camp. Camp is a way for all of the state mediation programs to gather and learn and grow. I've also been heavily involved within just the agricultural sector of Oklahoma as a producer myself. I have a cow-calf operation with my husband in South Central Oklahoma, and I travel around with ag mediation and tell both producers and agencies about our program. So a little bit about the Oklahoma Ag Mediation Program and the entities as a whole. So nationally, there are over 40 state programs, with our program here in Oklahoma being one of the first to be USDA certified back in 1987. And in the 80s, we saw a big recession within farming. And there was a lot, unfortunately, of farmers committing suicide in order to utilize the death benefits to keep their farms going. So we saw this need. I say they saw this need and they created this program so that farmers would have resources rather than having to resort to such drastic measures to keep their operations going. Now, grant funds for OAMP allow us to provide no-cost mediation between ag producers, lenders, USDA agencies, and others as part of their appeal process. And you'll find later in our talk how other case types have been brought in as of 2018 in the Farm Bill. In a minute, we'll get into those case types and how we handle them as that has grown over the years. I want to tell you a little bit about our team. So this is myself and Mike. Mike Mayberry is our executive director. He's been at the program for 11 years, and I came in just after him. I've been there for 10. There was a full turnover when we arrived, and we have been working together, I think, pretty well over the past decade as we're able to help farmers and ranchers. We are housed at the Oklahoma Department of Ag, Food and Forestry there in Oklahoma City. And we work to ensure that everyone that calls into the program, whether they go to mediation or not, is given the best information and care possible to help them in their situation. Usually when you call through, whether to our 1-800 number or to our main line, you're going to get me first. And as the manager and kind of the person that handles the communications, I will ensure that you get all of the information possible. So even if you just want to call in and ask about mediation, you're probably going to get me, and we will go through every step to ensure that you have everything that you need to either go ahead with mediation or, like I said, throw us in that junk drawer ready for later whenever you do need us. So let's talk about why we're here, shall we? Now, I believe, obviously, that the Oklahoma Ag Mediation and mediation in general provides a large amount of benefits, but why you're here today is to find out what we can do for you. And while they are immense, in my opinion, I've broken them down into a few categories that we will go over today. And those are reduce, promote, lower, and resolve. So, first up, we have reduce. Now, OAMP reduces stress in times of conflict by promoting safe space for all parties involved. It does not matter if you are a producer, an agency, a neighbor. We will absolutely make sure that every party coming into our space feels comfortable and safe. Mediations are confidential, meaning anything said in the sessions is not to be shared. And we actually, if you've been a part of a mediation or even a mediation with us, we usually will give out some bright orange paper. And on this paper, you can scribble down anything that you want, any notes for the mediation. You can scribble down your grocery list. It doesn't matter. But whatever is written on those orange papers, it gets collected at the end of the mediation and shredded. All of those notes are confidential, and everything said in mediation is confidential. And it's because we want to reduce that stress and provide a safe environment. And if you feel like you're coming into a mediation, say with your neighbor, and they're going to take everything that they've learned and go spread it, that's not how it works. We make sure to keep all of your information confidential as so that we ask all parties, and all parties are required to sign an agreement to mediate leading up to the mediation, adhering to these regulations that we put in place. As many conflicts that we mediate discuss family, financial, or poor actions, these topics can be hard to talk about openly. And in mediation, we want everyone to feel as comfortable as possible to get to the best resolution for all. Funnily enough, when I go to trade shows and talk about ag mediation, the show that I enjoy the most, admittedly, is the Women in Ag because it's women. And whether they're the main producer or they are with their spouse or a daughter of the producer, however they are involved, women are much more open to discussing things than the men are. So when I go to other trade shows and I have all of these men approaching the booth, usually they'll side eye it a little bit. Maybe they'll take a pen if they're being brave. Some take a picture of our sign. The women come right up to us. They come right up and they just start chatting with us. But the men usually call later. And it's funny to see the juxtaposition between those two whenever we're sitting down for a mediation, because usually it is the wife that is nudging her husband saying, okay, tell him, go, talk. And I always love to see how different producers or lenders or agencies respond to our situation and sitting around that table. And usually when we get behind the closed doors, because we are talking about finances or family, they're more open to speak whenever they know they're in a safe space. All mediations are also voluntary, and no one can be forced to attend. Unlike court, where you can be subpoenaed, required to attend, mediation allows the parties to have more control over the situation in more ways than one. But when it comes to voluntarily being there, it's very important that everyone, like I said, I've probably said this so many times, comfortable is starting to feel like it's not a real word, but we want to make everyone feel comfortable. And if you're there against your will, we're starting right out the gate not comfortable. So we want everyone to want to be there because truly we're looking for resolutions, and you're not always going to find a resolution when someone's there against their will, right? And similarly in litigation, the judge at hand, they make all the decisions. They are the ones that they hear both sides, and then what they say goes, and that's final. But within mediation, you have a say in what goes. You're the one that gets to decide what the agreement's going to be. You're going to work with that other party. Now, the mediator will be there, and they are going to be a completely unbiased third party. They're not going to make the decision for you like a judge. You have the power with the other party to either come to an agreement or not. It's completely up to you. So going to mediation is actually a really great precursor to litigation, because if you can work on it together and come to an agreement where both parties are going to be happy rather than in a judgment from a judge where what they say goes and is final, it's going to be easier for both parties involved to, I think, come to a resolution. So let's talk about promote, right? That's our second bullet point, is promote. Of all the things we do at OAMP, our biggest goal is to promote and preserve relationships between parties. Obviously, an agreement that works well for all involved is fantastic. That's the goal, right? But if an agreement cannot be reached, the next best thing is ensuring the connection between the parties is better than when they came. We want you to leave the mediation session with a better relationship, or at least a maintained relationship, than what you had when you were coming into the mediation session. For example, presumably your neighbor. They're going to be your neighbor for a while, right? You're not just going to up and move because your neighbor is upset. Unless, I mean, if you have the resources, That's great, but a lot of us don't. So, whether the conflict derives from a fence line dispute, lease agreements, natural resource disputes, ag mediation is a great place to be able to work through those issues in a safe environment with a third party there to help the conversation along. And the reason I wanted to really harp on the safe there, for example, we did have, and I'm not going to give too many details because, like I said, confidential, but we did have a few neighbors. There were two neighbors that were related, and then there was a new neighbor, a younger producer that had purchased property next to those other two that had been there for quite some time. There was an easement involved, and there were concerns over where the fence line and the easement met. Prior to them coming to mediation, there were several in person conflicts between the parties that resulted in the sheriff being called. And there were also devices that were brought because, they all have them in their trucks. So that got brought out during that session. It got very difficult for all of them to talk to one another without somebody being that third party representative to be able to facilitate a safe environment, right? So, one thing that we do provide at mediation is a place for you to be able to reach out to maybe that neighbor that you wouldn't feel comfortable reaching out to in a private, personal setting for safety concerns. And while that's not always the norm, it's just an option that we have and that we like to provide because it does happen. It happens a lot. And we want to be able to make sure that everyone is safe no matter the conflict. Let's talk about agency or lenders or agency and producers, right? Typically, when we see a mediation between these parties, they will want to continue the relationship forward so that all parties can benefit in the future. An example of this would be a producer that applied for a program and they weren't accepted, whether that is EQIP or ELAP or any of those things that, say, the USDA provides. In mediation, we have the ability to help determine both the reason they were denied and if they cannot be accepted this time, what they need to what they need to do to be eligible the next time. So, say a signature got left off, or this is a great example. We had a mediation where they happen to have won at the casino and that made their income exponentially higher than it was in the previous year. Now, the producer wasn't thinking of that as an income because it was winnings, but when it comes to your taxes, it does show as an income. So, a program that they used to qualify for, this one year they weren't able to qualify for because their income didn't match the previous year, right? We were able to go into a mediation session, determine that that was the reason that they were not approved, and then explain to them how that they could continue to be approved in the future, moving forward. Because the producer doesn't want to lose that ability to be in those programs. And the USDA doesn't want to lose the producer because they want to ensure that our food and our agricultural process continues on, right, with our producers. So we do see this quite often, right, in cases pertaining to lenders and agencies, and a better clarification of the conflict at hand, it can actually be just as beneficial as an agreement. And I know you may be thinking, okay, but if I'm not getting my way, it's not the best outcome. Well, it might not be what you expected, but that doesn't mean it's not the best outcome because it's much better to know what you need to do in the future than it is to just not be able to continue on with those programs moving forward. And then, of course, when it comes to family, family is family, and they come in all shapes and sizes. Typically, we see families looking to pass the torch to the next generation, and usually that means they're having a hard time figuring out what that's going to look like, right? With a lot of farms hitting generational roadblocks right now, it's no wonder that family farm transitions remain a large part of our ag mediation cases. We've actually had a family seek mediations with us periodically over the years as new conflicts arise throughout their process of transition. There's no hard and fast rule that you can only attend once or that you have to get everything figured out in one session, especially when it comes to family farm transitions, because right now you're at the starting gate of the transition and you need to figure out, okay, what is the end goal? Where do we want to be? Is it a farmer with 3 kids and we need to figure out how to split it up between the 3 kids? Does one kid want out and the other 2 want to stay? Is it a husband and a wife that are splitting? There's so many different scenarios that there's not one copy paste, situation. We have to always tailor it to the situation at hand. And maybe you're going to start out figuring that out and then you come to a good agreement on where you want to start and then we don't see you again for a year. And then when you're in the process of doing that, maybe you've already knocked off a couple steps, but then you got to the seventh step down the road and now you have another conflict that you don't think you can get through just the two of you. So coming to us and allowing us to be that third party to just kind of help that conversation along is something that's going to be beneficial in the long run, because I don't know about y'all, but I grew up in agriculture and I know the family dynamics can be difficult when it comes to anything. Maybe you are a younger producer that is trying to say, hey, dad, grandpa, grandma, we want to make these changes to the operation to keep it profitable for future generations to come, but they don't want to see that change. Or maybe you are someone who's older that wants to retire and you really want to find a good way for your production to continue on and not be split apart. So, coming to these mediation sessions is a great way to work out those kinks, because not everybody's really great at communicating, especially in a family dynamic. We also can do others, and we'll talk about the different types of mediations in just a second. So, our next benefit that you guys can get from mediation is lower costs. So, one thing I believe that we can all agree on is that the cost of living is rising. And with that, OAMP is remaining steadfast in our mission to provide no charge mediation services. You will never receive a bill from us. I am never going to cut you any kind of invoice for your time with us. The only thing that we do ask for at OAMP is your time. And I know that your time is expensive. I really do. And so does Mike. And we want to ensure that we are both timely with the way that our mediations are held and also cognizant of your time that you're taking off from your production or from work. A lot of the time, farmers and ranchers will have a town job, right? So we want to be cognizant of your time on the ranch. We want to be cognizant of your time at your jobs, your family time. We want to make sure that you're able to come to mediation and feel like you can be there without being rushed, and also that you're not wasting any of your finances or anything by attending, right? So we schedule the mediations with you in mind, whether you are in Hollis or Miami. It doesn't matter if you are in Beaver County. It doesn't matter if you are down in the Durant area. We will go anywhere that you are. So if that means that we ourselves are traveling longer, that's perfectly fine, as long as it is making it easier for you to be able to attend the mediation, right? Because typically, if you're contacting us, that's because you need help. Well, we don't want to add to that strain, and that's not what we're here for. We're here to help, not to make your situation harder on you. So if we need to book it near you, that's what we're going to do. Now, usually the mediations are going to be held at libraries or local courthouses where we can reserve rooms. We have resorted to hotels in areas that don't have the other resources. I mean, we have done it in all kinds of places. There are occasional times that we'll have it, say, at a USDA agency if all parties feel able to do that. But if, say, it's a producer and an agency that are going to a mediation and the producer's like, no, I don't think that that's good enough common ground, we'll go somewhere else. And that's perfectly fine. You might also be wondering, well, what if I can't? What if I am homebound, or what if I'm stuck on the ranch, or a myriad of different things, right? Zoom is something that we leaned on heavily during COVID and post-COVID, truly, for those unable to travel. And that means whether it is for physical reasons, your time, financial reasons, it does not matter. If you request some kind of virtual mediation, we're going to make it work. And we have producers that may not be able to do Zoom. And that's fine. They can conference call in. We prefer face to face because we want to know who we're talking to, but we're going to ensure that you are able to attend the mediation, however that may look like, right? Another thing is that you don't have to have a lawyer for mediation. It is not a requirement. We do not require anyone coming into mediation to have any kind of representation. If you already have it and you want to bring them, yes, absolutely. We welcome them with open arms. But we really do want to ensure that everybody is aware, unlike litigation and appeals, where you may need to hire representation costing you more money, we do not require that. It is not something that you have to have. And on that topic, if you ever have any kind of documentation or anything that you think is pertinent to the mediation, you're welcome to bring those things, but they are not required. And you're not bringing it for my or Mike's benefit. right? Any papers or documents or photographs that you bring are for the other party. They're not for us. We are not your judge and jury. We are just there to facilitate the conversation. So while you're able to bring those things, understand that they are not for us. They are for the other party at hand. And it's just to give you a little backup if you think that you need it for anything that you may say in mediation. So if you're saying, "Oh, well the fence line is on my property and I have a survey," you can bring that survey for the other party to review. We will obviously maybe look at it, but it's not something that we are required to have or keep, or will change our minds about anything because we are completely unbiased third party. So our next one is resolve. And here you're going to see a lot of cases, right? Because of course, we want a resolution. That's why we're here. So let's talk about what we're resolving, okay? The program has grown exponentially in the cases that it can mediate over the years. In the 2018 Farm Bill, there were provisions made to allow for case types like organic farming, rural water loan programs, family farm transitions, farmer neighbor disputes, pesticides. Used to the program, and maybe if you've heard about the program in the past, you would hear that we only do USDA cases. That's not true anymore. We can do a variety of cases that have to do with agricultural conflict. And if you happen to look at this list and say, okay, well, my conflict doesn't really meet any of those, well, we have provisions for that too, right? So if you don't see something here, don't hesitate to call us, because through that same provision in the 2018 Farm Bill, we have the potential to add more by going to our Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary Blaine Arthur, and saying, hey, we have producers that have these needs. And right now, that's not on our caseload. So is there something that we can work together to come up with the proper wording? And then we will present that and we can get that approved to add to our list. So if you are looking at this saying, well, oh, well, I can't do mediation because I'm not on that list, don't think that. Call us. We will work it out. We want to ensure that no matter what your concerns or conflicts are here in Oklahoma, we can mediate them. And of course, it's going to be a little different. The reason that they did that is because every state, the program, they may have something completely different than what we have here. Obviously, a coastal state is going to have different types of agriculture, maybe more aquaculture than we have here in Oklahoma, while we have more beef and wheat and soybean. So being able to adjust that is something I personally am very fond of, and I want to really hit home with everyone, because we don't want you not to call us because you don't think it's going to work, because it's going to work. Now, just to kind of give you an example of some of the things that we've done, I know we've kind of touched on the family farm transitions as well as maybe the agency, things like that. But another thing that I would like to talk about is your businesses to producers, which is something that, we didn't touch on earlier, but I don't want to leave out as we wind down towards the end of the presentation, because there was a case recently that was very interesting, I think. We had a producer that had unfortunately purchased some materials from a feed store. And those materials were believed by the producer to have harmed and killed some cattle that he had fed it to. So the mediation was between him and the producer of that feed. So first we discussed with the people that sold him the feed and had the mediation there. And then we went on to have a mediation with him and the people that created the feed. And it was a very complex case that went on for several weeks because the producer and the other parties really felt like they needed to continue to meet. So mediation isn't a one size fits all. It can truly be any conflict that could arise. Anytime that you believe a conflict is stopping you from being the best producer that you can be, stopping your production from being most profitable that it can be, or at any time that you just feel like you need some help, give us a call. If we don't have the answer, we will absolutely ensure that we connect you with the person that has the answer. Now, while we cannot give you legal advice, we cannot provide any legal advice. We cannot act as lawyers as part of our grant. That is just not something we can do. We can for sure attempt to lead you in the right direction. I had someone call me the other day that they were asking, they called and they said, hey, somebody told us that you can help me with water retention. We have water retention on our property and we need a surveyor to come out. Unfortunately, that's not what we do. But you know what? I do believe that there's someone with extension blah, 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 right? Like we want to ensure that you have the help that you need. We may not be able to always get you into a mediation session, but that doesn't mean that we don't want to help you in every way possible. And of course, our goal is to get you into mediation and to get you clarification or to an agreement. There's a few ways that you can contact us to do those things. You can call us at our 1-800 number, that's toll free. You can go on our website. And right here in the upper corner where you can see the computer screen, you'll see that Get Help Now button, right? It's a big white button that says Get Help Now. If you click on that, it's going to take you straight to a form, your name, your email, a little blurb about what you need, and you're going to get a call from us no matter what. There is my personal or my work email. You could always shoot me a message at any time. That's perfectly fine. If you do call that 1-800 number, you're also going to get me because it goes straight through to my cell. And then we are housed at the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture there in Oklahoma City. We may have mediations there from time to time if you're local enough. But otherwise, that is our state funding is to be housed there at the Department of Agriculture. We're very thankful for that connection with them all. So I think that that is getting us down. If you have any questions for me, I would be happy to answer them at this time. I know we have a few people here on the Zoom with us.
Thank you, Cheyenne. And it is set where folks can unmute themselves to ask questions as well as type questions into the chat window for you.
Perfect. Don't be shy. It's fine. I know that some of you are going to be possibly having questions later. Like I said, a lot of the times when we talk about mediation, there are things that people don't feel comfortable talking about openly. That's perfectly fine. You can always contact us, like I said, on all of these here. And then if you are watching online, just know we would be happy to get with you at any time. I do want to share one final slide with you, and that is just a big old thank you for having me today. Thank you to Brent and to everybody here that joined us and that will watch this in the future. I do have a QR code there from Brent for you guys to do a webinar survey. He did put it in the chat as well if you want to link through that way. Give a nice little review. I know that Brent works very hard to put this webinar series together for everyone, and I'm really appreciative that here at Oklahoma Ag Mediation, we were able to be a part of that. So thank you so much to everybody and to Brent for joining today.
And I want to thank you, Cheyenne, for presenting today. I don't see any questions in the chat box yet, so I think I'll give folks just a little bit more time and then we'll wrap up today's webinar.
Perfect. I promise I don't bite, at least not hard. If anybody is potentially joining here or online from other states, you can also go to the Coalition of Agriculture Mediation Programs to find your state program. There are over 40 of them, like I said prior, and we're always helpful if you want to give us a call and say, hey, I'm from Texas or Kansas or wherever else. We'll be happy to give you that information as well.
Thanks, Cheyenne. I think we'll wrap that up today. So everyone, thanks again for joining us. Thank you, Cheyenne, for presenting, and we will see everyone next time.